similar words, like we started off with Alhamdulillah, and we discussed, okay, Madh. One is Hamd, one is Madh, and one is Shukr. Why Allah SWT chose to say Alhamdulillah, or to say Al-Majhulillah, or Shukrillah. That is already passed. Today what I'm going to focus on, that was discussed by Imam Razi rahimahullah in his Tafsir al-Kabir. The difference between using a Jumla Ismiya and just the difference between using a Jumla Fi'liya. That means starting off the sentence with an ism by saying Alhamdu, that's an ism, right? That means the phrase Lillah is for Allah, as opposed to saying I am praising Allah. It's saying Alhamdulillah as opposed to saying Ahmadullah. Actually, let me write this down to the sisters, which will request. So there's like two different ways you can say it. It means the same thing, more or less.
It's like a verb sentence versus a noun.
A verb sentence before as opposed to a noun sentence. Why did Allah choose it to put it one way as opposed to the other? This is always clear from you in Madrasa. Make the students read it. The pen is not really working too well. It's not too visible. But I'll say it slowly. One is Alhamdu Lillahi. Alhamdu Lillahi. Now, Alhamdu in Arabic is considered a noun, the praise. Alhamdu. Right? So why start off with a noun and say Alhamdulillah as opposed to saying Ahmadullah? Why not start with Fatiha Ahmadullah? And Ahmadullah means I am praising Allah. So here Imam Razi is discussing this. So he says that if a person says Ahmadullah, I am praising Allah, or I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? This entails that the person is able to carry it out. This means that the person can perform the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, it means that the person can praise Allah as Allah ought to be praised. Ahmadullah, I praise Allah. As if to say Allah can be praised by us sufficiently enough. Right? Some praise that is la'iq for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am praising Allah. And it creates that thought in the mind that we are able to do it. We can do so. But when a person says Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to Allah. Now the benefit of this is that whether we're able to do it or whether we're not able to do it, the statement by itself, that grammatical structure, gives this meaning that praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether we can fulfill it or whether we can't. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows that Alhamdulillah, that O insan, O musalli, O whoever you are, the praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you can do so or whether you cannot do so. And all of us are ajiz, we are unable to praise Allah that is befitting for His praise. How can we say that we can, by just praise Allah, that will be so much an'am, so much benefit, so much ihsan Allah has done for us? That we try to enumerate and count the benefits of the bounties of Allah. You'll never be able to enumerate. So we cannot praise Allah as God be praised. So that's one of the benefits. Also, another thing that when you say Ahmadullah, that I am praising Allah, I am currently praising Allah. I wish that I would have started there with you guys so you can understand. This verb is called Sighat al-Mudari. It's a present or futuristic term. When you say Ahmadu, Yahmadu, Yadribu, Yasma'u, this is a present tense or a future tense verb. I am currently praising Allah, but it doesn't include past tense. But when you say the noun sentence, Alhamdulillah, if you started off with the Jumlat al-Ismiyah, this incorporates all tenses, past tense, present tense, future tense, all tense, prehistory. prehistorically and eternally thereafter. Alhamdulillah. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has always belonged to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It continues right now to belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will continue to belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the future. So it's such an all-encompassing statement, the two words, that it completely, there's no comparison between the two meanings. Right? So this is giving you understanding. This you'll understand from the Arabic language. That's why when you read the Quran in Arabic, you can get lost in the ocean of knowledge that you can take out just from these two words. So you just sit in meaning. That's why I was saying that when you perform salah and you can understand that Surah Fatiha, you're just completely blown away of all, like a whole rush of meaning comes to you. That cannot happen in English. It won't happen in English because it's two different things. Another difference is that when you use this jumla ismiya, and there's alhamdulillah, and there's this harf jar. We were discussing this before when we did Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The harf jar, the particle that gives jar, the lam, alhamdulillah. And there in Bismillah we talked about the different things that ba comes for. We don't really have too much time, but lam, lillah, that lam, that comes from many different things also. One of the things that it comes for, one it could be tamlik. Tamlik means to own something. For example, you say, هذا المكتب لزيد. This table belongs to Zayd. And so one is tamlik, to show ownership. And another thing that's used is ikhtisas in the language. That lam shows that it's specific to this person. It's a speciality of this. So when you say alhamdulillah, you're saying that alhamdulillah, praise belongs specifically, solely, only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't belong to anybody else. When we are praising, when we give the hamd, it's the sole right, it's the sole belonging of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they go on in the other tafsirs, like if you open up Ma'arif al-Quran and you read the English tafsir, then they go on that in reality, anybody who ever praises anything, right, in life, for example, you see there's let's assume the structure, the building structure. MashaAllah, it's such a beautiful masjid, such a beautiful carpet, and the design is so nice. We're praising the architect who designed it, or we're praising the engineer who helped put it up. Right? But in reality, truth be told, the praise goes back and reverts back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created this concrete and the mortar that keeps the bricks together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created these fibers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created these colors. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created the human being who could fathom this design. An architect who has that mind and ability to think of this design. The engineer who puts it into practice. The builders who have the energy to lay brick by brick by brick. And all this kind of a thing. All of these are dependent upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anybody praising anything, anywhere in creation, in reality, that praise goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that comes back just from that lam that you have, that it's the ikhtisas, that it's specific for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One other thing here, it's a bit extensive, I'm going to try to make a khulasa. It says, فَإِذَا تَلَفَّظَ الْإِنسَانُ بِقَوْلِهِ أَحْمَدَ اللَّهَ مَعَ أَنَّهُ كَانَ قَبْلَهُ غَافِلًا عَنْ مَعْنَى التَّعْظِيمِ اللَّائِقِ بِجَلَالِهِ كَانَ كَاذِبًا. Imam Razi is saying, if a person says أحمد الله, that I am praising Allah, and I praise Allah, despite the fact that before, you're standing up and you're saying أحمد الله, but let's assume 10 minutes before, you're in complete ghaflat, you're in complete heedlessness. You were in the market doing your thing, you're doing your own affair, or maybe you were in the bathroom relieving yourself. You're in a state of ghaflat and heedlessness. Now you're standing up on the musalla and you're saying, I'm praising Allah. How can this be? And you're actually uttering a lie. You weren't in the state of praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You spent the whole time in ghaflat and heedlessness or committing some sin. Now you're going to stand up in the musalla and you're going to say, Alhamdulillah. You're going to, in essence, be speaking a lie. But when you say the jumla ismiya, Alhamdulillah, it comes back to the same thing. But whether I praise, whether I don't praise, whether I was doing something else, now praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says it's very similar to the statement. When you use a jumla fi'liya, for example, in the words of adhan, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. That's a fi'l, that's a verb. I bear witness that worthy of worship besides Allah. Whether I attest to that or whether I don't attest to that. And when you say ashhadu, you could be a liar, you could be a munafiq. You could say, yeah, I testify, but in reality you're not testifying. So there is an ihtimal, there's a possibility of lying, and therefore it diminishes the quwwat of that sentence. Maybe yes, maybe no. But when you make it a jumla ismiya, it emphasizes, it makes it more emphatic, and that meaning just it's kind of like the meaning goes on steroids, right? It's super emphatic. So that's some of the differences of what's starting up with that. Alright, I'm going to skip out a couple of things because we won't be able to do justice. That should be sufficient for now. Just when you say Alhamdulillah. Now we're talking about the next words that are included. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbil Alameen. That is the term, Rabbil Alameen. Rabbil Alameen. In short, we translated as the Lord of what? What translations do you have? Brother Faisal, what did they mention under that stuff?
The cherisher and sustainer of the worlds.
The cherisher and the sustainer of the worlds. In translation, you get this, or you get, for example, the Lord of the worlds, the Lord of mankind. You get this different kind of translation that's fine. But it's much more deeper than that. Right? Oh. Here, on the state of Rabbil Alameen, they try to get, like we always do, we break down the word into its derivative, the huruf asli we call it, the root letters. But here, beginning off, they say, قوله تعالى رب العالمين. رب العالمين, what does it mean? So see, they say, أي مالكهم. That رب العالمين, actually one of the translations of Rabb is Malik. Right? Malik, which means the owner. Rabb, one of the definitions of the word Rabb in Arabic also means Malik. And this is used quite frequently in the olden days when slavery was common. Right? When a person would say, Hada Rabbi, this is my master, this is my owner. He owns me, I'm a slave, and Hada Rabbi. Then you can use that to mean Malik, to mean an owner in terms of slaves. So Rabbil Alameen here, so here we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the same relationship, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns Al-Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of Alameen. And that context, that we don't own anything, we are actually owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everything within Al-Alameen, whatever that means, belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One note in passing that you're not allowed to use the term Ar-Rabb, the Rabb, for anybody besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that's one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the Asma al-Husna that is specific to him is Ar-Rabb. So you can use Ilah. You can use it, for example, when you're attributing it. Like I said before, for example, Hada Rabbu Zaydin. This is Zayd's master. Or this is the owner of this. One term that they use, it's a qasam, وَبِرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ, by the qasam, by the oath of the Rabb of the Kaaba, like those kind of things. But you can say, for example, Rabbul Bayt, the owner of the house, Rabbul Siyara, the owner of the car. You can make the Allah, when it comes to Alif Lam, that's specific, Ar-Rabb, that can be only be used for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's one of the Asma al-Husna, because He is the true, real, haqiqi owner of everything. Another meaning for Rabb is a Sayyid, which means like the master. Same concept. Malik, the owner, Sayyid, the master. So when a person has a Sayyid, that's the master. And this can be used also for other people. In Surah Yusuf, Allah mentions that Yusuf said to the two companions in the jail cell after he gave them the explanation of their dream, and he assumed that I think this person is going to be set free and he's going to be set free, the other one is going to pass away. Of course, he told him that me, that remember me in the Rabbik. Mention my name in the Rabbik, by your Rabb. There the Rabb means Sayyid, by your master. The person really wasn't a slave at that time. He was whether he was a slave or whether he was a servant, that can be debatable. Ilahi, and then you say Rabbil Alameen. So in your mind, the understanding conjures up that Rabbil Alameen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that Rabb, is that Malik, where my milkiyat will come to an end, but the milkiyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everlasting. I as a Malik will come to an end, but then I myself will be a Mamluk. I myself will be owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today I might be a king, but when you stand up in your salah and you recite Surah Fatiha, it conjures up that image in your mind. I might be a Rabb. I might be Zayd's Rabb. I might be his master. But there'll come a time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's going to be the only Rabb. He's going to be all of our masters. So it conjures up all those images and all these thoughts in your mind. Okay. Other meanings for Rabb, other definitions. They mentioned al-muslih. The meaning of Rabb has this connotation about muslih, a person who makes islah, who betters something, who rectifies it, who makes it attain perfection. Al-muslih, al-mudabbir. The meaning of Rabb also has the meaning of mudabbir. Mudabbir al-amr, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mudabbir means that you plan and you design, that it goes stage by stage by stage by stage until something reaches. For example, in order for you to build this masjid, there's probably a 3 or 4 phase of construction. The drawing of the plans. This is all tadbir, and this is all planning, right? Making all these kind of this thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the term Rabb also, this also has that meaning. That Allah is a Muslim. Rabbil Alameen, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Rabb, and He is the one that's going to make islah at every single creation that's contained in any universe or anywhere, whether it's in the heavens, whether it's on the earth, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make, and this kind of takes us forth. I'm going to make it a bit shorter. This leads us to what the word Rabb is derived from. So some say that the word Rabb is derived from tarbiyah, and murabbi, tarbiyat. In Urdu, I'm sure we have in Farsi, I know we have tarbiyat. What does the word tarbiyat mean? When you want to make tarbiyat al-awlad, that you want to train them, you want them to grow from their strength to the next strength. That right now they might only know a little bit. Right? So I'm going to only teach them that much what they need to know, and I'm going to give them good food so they become stronger. I'm going to make sure they get these vitamins so their akal grows. So you're making the tarbiyat of the child as they grow. You're trying to ensure and give them the best so that they develop into the best possible human being that they can become when they become adults. Right? So you, as a parent, you're also a murabbi. You're making tarbiyat of the child. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the actual Rabb. He's the actual murabbi. That in the womb of the mother, actually, at the time of inception, when the child is conceived, at the time of conception also, from that time when the two money, the fluid of the male and the female come together, from that moment on, the tarbiyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commences. And it goes on. That's so many things, and ask the doctors about this. They can go at length and they'll tell you that it's such a miracle of childbirth that a child is even born without any defect. Because there's so many things that could go wrong, especially when the cells begin to divide and subdivide and further subdivide. And so many things could go wrong, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nourishes it from that very same stage. Once the conception takes place in the, what do they call that? When it's fertilization. When the fertilization takes place and all that, everything that happens after that, tarbiyat starts from there. And it goes and it goes and it develops. And then you have the fetus and the zygote and all these other things that it goes through different formations. They determine mudgha, alaqat, and all these other things in Arabic. In English, you can check out yourself. But it starts off from there and then you're born into the world. And it doesn't stop there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given parents to you. That's a means of nourishment for you. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the milk that comes from the breast of the mother, and then you grow and you become a toddler, and then from there the faculty of the mind comes in, and the ability to move, and the tarbiyat goes up until you reach the age of kamal, when you reach the age of approximately 40 years static meant that it was eternal, it was unchanging, it was always as it was, and it will always be as it will be. And that's a shirk, that's a belief of shirk. That if you say that this universe was eternal, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is eternal. If it pre-existed eternally and will continue to exist eternally in the future, that's a sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nobody shares that. In Arabic, it's called abad wa azal. And if you're saying the universe is like that, so they'll get into debates. So one of the things that Allama Taftazani was discussing in Sharh al-Hayat is he's saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the Rabb, right? This atom that's in existence, right? He mentioned there that this atom at every given instance, it needs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to exist. It's as if it's being created and recreated continuously, that every second, they use a nanosecond also. Every single atom that makes up the entire universe, and how many, I don't know what number to use. You can't even use billion or zillion because we even have that amount of cells in our brain. Imagine the entire universe in its infinite bigness. However it is, in every single atom that makes everything up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the love of all that every given second, keeping it in existence. It's not that Allah created it and it sustains itself. That's also a wrong belief to have. Allah has sustained it and maintained it. And one is different, you create something and you let it go. But in this, from this word, Rabb al-Alameen, this has that connotation, has that meaning that Allah created it, He's nurturing it, and He's maintaining it every single given second. So Allah has a direct relationship with the makhluk. He didn't create it and just leave it be. Some religions and some others, they say that Allah has this kind of a relationship with His makhluk. He created them and He left them, He forgot all about them. He's doing some other affair. In Islam, that's not the case. And this you take out just from these two words, Rabb al-Alameen, just like that. So when you understand all these things, and this is just a scratching at the surface, how many other things you come up to, and then you will enjoy your salah. So probably it'll take you 20 minutes just to finish 2 rakats of salah. And this is what the ulama used to do. Like it's mentioned from a lot of the ulama of the past, that the whole night they would be standing up. The whole night reciting one verse of Quran, repeating it and repeating it and repeating it and repeating it over and over and over again. Was it because they got stuck on that verse? No, it wasn't that. Because all these different, so many meanings will be flooding their mind at that moment, and they'll just be there repeating that one verse. Right? And this is the difference when you understand. When you have ilm, and they wouldn't get tired. For us, if we repeat Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillah, we get tired of them. How many meanings can go? For them, the whole night, how many hours? 8 hours reciting one single verse of the Holy Quran is something new. So what was it for them? That's different from us. It's that the ilm they had.
Is he an Arabic for sustainer?
Sustainer?
Yeah. What is it about?
Al-Baqi, I guess, would be one. Baqa, that would sustain it, keep it. There could be others. That's the only one. Al-Baqiya, Ibqa, one that's continuously making it remain. Let's see. I think I should probably stop there. We still have to finish. That's why we're discussing the word Rabb. And next time we shall discuss Al-Alameen. There's ikhtilaf. And the word Alameen, who does it refer to? What does it mean? Where does it come from? So probably for next week we shall discuss Alameen. I wanted to actually make mashwara with the students here because we're kind of going at things upside down here. I'm trying to get you into tafsir but without having the foundation of the Arabic language. If we could make it such, and wherever you want to start, but I need to start a little bit of giving lessons of Arabic so that when we discuss these things, they're not so foreign to your mind. If you don't have the understanding of the grammar of it, you can get a rough idea, but it's not going to be the same. So hopefully maybe next week we can make some much also that when we can start formal lessons of the Arabic language to discuss the grammar, that's going to really help you out understand all the details of the concepts. Just proceed. Otherwise, you'll get a rough idea, but it's not going to do justice to it. But anyway, we'll conclude here, inshallah. But I'll conclude with one question. Yes, the different sifats, we discussed this before, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what it's ism of Allah. It's the ism of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's His formal name. Formal name. What others would be sifat. The sifat of Allah. One is al-Rahim, is that mercy. So these are sifat, and one is that those ismu sifat, and we get ismu Allah. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even 99 also, some say there's more than 99 also. And these are the more common than the 99. There's some hadith that mention that there's some isms that Allah gives himself that he knows that we don't. So, but in terms of sifat, these are characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's names also, but they're also, they define or they describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In different, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the just. And so that's the name also that describes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who exercises the most justice. He will never just oppress anyone, he will never do zulm upon anyone in the least because of his name being Allah. But we'll conclude here, inshallah. One quick announcement. I think next week, when Facebook was saying that they have the football tournament. So last month, whoever was here when the sisters had their basketball, we couldn't hear. So because of that football tournament taking place in the gym, we'll have class in the upstairs in Musalla, which used to be ours.
Yeah.
So you probably know better how to get there than I do. And the sisters are also welcome there. They'll put up a screen and a partition for them, but in the upstairs Musalla room that used to be the old masjid.
It's on this. It's on this floor.
It's on this
It's
floor.
right here.
It's called the madrasa, the tahfiz madrasa. Okay, so it's on this floor of the masjid over there. So we'll meet there, inshallah, after the next week, inshallah. Wow. Quick question.
What's the best way to dispose of the pages of the Quran, torn up Quran? Can we use shredder?
Good question, brother. Sisters who couldn't hear, the brother was asking that what's the best way to dispose of pages of the Quran or an old Quran that's torn up a little bit. From my speeches, when they're discussing the Masala, they said that one of the best ways is that either you give it like a normal burial, like if you have an old Quran, you just don't read it anymore, it's become whatever, and shroud it to give it a lot of respect and go out in the backyard and actually kind of dig up an area where you don't think it'll be desecrated, right? Some place that's a little bit more out of the way, you don't think that nobody's going to do a toilet there, nobody's going to, urinate there, something like that. So you dig up a thing there, you put it in a nice little kind of like a shroud thing, with as much respect and as much you put it in the ground there. Aside from that, if you live close to a body of water, you can, for example, enshroud it and put it in whether it's a river or whether it's the ocean or whether it's a nice deep lake or something there. You can enshroud it there and put it in the lake, in the river there, and that will be its kind of definite burial and everything. We don't recommend burning it, because burning is a form of disrespect. Like the big hoo-ha the people that take place recently was that there was a Christian priest who wanted to burn the Quran. So burning has this kind of connotation of disrespecting it. So we don't want to do that. It is mentioned that yes, Muhammad did burn certain things. That because if you do bury a Quran, somebody can go and unbury it and unearth those. So that was for some other maslihat, some other benefit that they did it. For us, that doesn't apply to us. So we say the best form would be to bury it or to kind of put it in the water. If you're going to shred it also, that's fine, but at the end of the day, I would prefer these methods more than that. It's just more respectful way of what I personally do myself, like when I make things, I have like a little bin that I keep for old Qurans or old books or whatever that I can't use. And then maybe once every 6 months, it'll come up to be like a small little container, and then I'll just go there and I'll bury it somewhere that I can rest assured that nobody's going to come and desecrate it like that. So that's the best. Other ways are permissible, but this is like kind of like one of the best ways to do it. So it shows more respect to it. Okay?